You don't always know it when you've gotten trapped in the sticky web of a romantic manipulator. You don't know it while it's happening, and it takes a while to hit you. And usually after you've been knocked off the emotional roller coaster that you were riding, that you were clinging to, and then the relationship is over, and that's when it begins to dawn on you that everything they said was designed to get you to trust them, to open up. Because that gave the romantic manipulator a feeling they liked. They liked the power, they liked the intensity, they liked the romance. But when that feeling wears off for them, it's like, they're done. They got what they want and they're done. And if you grew up with abuse and neglect, this is probably a dynamic that you've found yourself in more than once. Someone shows up in your life and they pressure you at first to get all into them, to come close, and then they start pushing you away and they pressure you to put up with that, to get comfortable over there. And we can blame those people all we want, but if this is happening in your life, it's not going to stop until you stop it. You can't give them all the power to make that decision about whether they get to treat you that way. And it usually happens to people because they were conditioned in childhood to pull really close and then get pushed away or neglected or criticized. And then everybody had to act like nothing happened, like that's just fine. And being really good at that, skilled in that way, putting up with bad treatment and acting like, oh, it's okay, it in turn conditions you to put up with and even be attracted to romantic manipulators. And you'll find yourself giving more, trying to change yourself, trying to make them happy, living with a constant level of fear and shame, just grinding you down, because that's what it's like when manipulators are holding you at arm's length, taking what they want this way, but feeling no accountability toward you and somehow getting cooperation from you. So I want to help you learn to recognize manipulation for what it is. And when you know what it is, it takes all the magic out of it. And you see it for what it is, a big downward spiral that you're not going to fall into anymore. Okay, so here are 10 things to listen for when you're dating someone, to tell if someone is trying to manipulate you romantically. All right, number 1. You're too jealous, or you're too possessive. So how many times have you been accused of this when someone you were in love with was hanging out with, or maybe sleeping with, or at least flirting with, and leading on other people? Now, jealousy is the natural emotion that rises up when you have a sexual and romantic bond with someone and your heart's desire to just be with that person. There's a desire there to be monogamous for most people. And if that's you, contrary to what romantic manipulators say, it's okay to want and expect monogamy. Now, you may have sold yourself short on what you want because maybe you rushed into the relationship and intellectually you can't make that kind of claim on another person who you don't really know yet and who hasn't made that commitment to you. But when you find yourself feeling jealous, it doesn't mean the jealousy is crazy. It means the speed of getting into the relationship caused you to bond with that person before the relationship could support that kind of a bond. And you might find yourself in a casual relationship or a friends with benefits kind of arrangement because that's what the other person wants, but it was never what you wanted. And to make that work for them, you go along with them, and you even blame yourself along with them for your jealous feelings. And you try to deny those feelings, and you make yourself bad and wrong for having them. Moving forward with a relationship when you're in conflict with yourself at that profound level, like wanting with all your heart to have a stable, committed love, and then trying to basically kill that part of you, thinking, as only a trauma kid can, that if you can just destroy your need for real love and have no expectations, then somehow things will transmogrify this person disrespecting you and they'll realize at last that they love you. Has that ever worked for you? I don't think so. And this reminds me of number 2 of the things that romantic manipulators want you to believe. And this has to do with the idea of expectations and the toxic idea that there's something wrong with expectations. Now, manipulators tell you your expectations are unreasonable, they're unattractive, they're too bourgeois, they're uncool, they're too American, or whatever the European version of that is, or South American, or wherever you live, meaning it's too boring, it's pedestrian, it's unhip. Or they tell you you're being too much of a woman, or you're being too much of a guy, as if that's something you should destroy in yourself so that they can feel comfortable. Okay, number 3, romantic manipulators have this amazing talent for thinking that they told you they were dating someone else. But I don't know, I guess you didn't hear them, right? Have you had that happen to you? And to be honest, we can be kind of unable to hear what we don't want to hear when we fall in love with someone. And our trauma brain is determined to make it work no matter what. And I don't think romantic manipulators are necessarily scouting for people who will put up with them. They just act selfishly and not totally honestly, like telling you they thought you knew they were dating someone else. And if you're still hanging on to them, they take that as consent to keep going. Now, your trauma brain will believe that this hammer blow to your heart just came out of nowhere, and it'll look for rationalizations why there's still hope, and they didn't really mean it, and maybe you can change them, and maybe you are too pedestrian or American or female or whatever. You'll attack yourself rather than see it. But the good thing about seeing how you're complicit in treating you badly is that when it's you, it means you can change it. You can stop doing it. The 5th thing is a variation on, I thought you knew I was dating someone, which is, I never suggested those plans I suggested and that you were looking forward to. Anyone who does this bullshits you about big things you're counting on, like plans that were made or whether they're already in a relationship. That's not good for you. You can set a boundary on that, but the boundary means you walk away from it, right? Getting all mad at somebody who does that, it's a retroactive strategy to set a boundary. So when someone does that to you, you just step away. Just step away. Now, the one hope that somebody who treats you casually like that is going to come around, it's going to happen because you simply didn't cling to the relationship after bad treatment. And in a few rare cases, people will come around and they'll step up to a higher level, all right? So the 5th thing, romantic manipulators love to use New Age ideas to make you think that when you feel like something is a lie or that it's morally wrong or it's not sitting right with you, that it's really just you being spiritually unevolved. And they do this with things like, hey, you're not being in the moment. And that's what they pull out when you're talking about a lie that happened in the past or a need to know what the plan is in the future or what their intentions are. And yes, you're not in the moment because, yes, you're thinking of the big picture and trying to get information about whether it makes sense for you to be there, whether it fits into your plans. So don't let them talk you out of allowing the past and the future to be subjects of conversation because they're real. That's what real people need to talk about. The 6th thing is very similar, and it's, hey, you're too much in your head. You need to be in your body. And this comes up when you do that thing they hate, which is called thinking. Using your powers of reason to notice red flags is a very important thing to be able to do. Assessing whether being in your body or specifically letting them have access to your body without using some thought is actually really dangerous for you. So of course you want to be using your thinking. Now when you hesitate to have casual sex, you'll also hear people say, you're overthinking it. But really the problem might be that they're underthinking it. And thinking is how you state boundaries. So remember, thinking is good. Expressing yourself is good. Now, the 7th thing is when these very sophisticated historical anthropologists who happen to be romantically manipulative say very matter-of-factly that people aren't really designed for monogamy. It's a construct. It's American. Boy, these Americans again, huh? It's patriarchy. It's female control strategy. It's religious domination. It's capitalism. It's puritanical repression and blah, 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 blah. Monogamy is what you want. What that really means when they counter that against you is that the person in front of you doesn't want monogamy. And they're just projecting that it's everybody else. And they want to manipulate you into suppressing that desire that you have for a committed relationship. They want to make you feel like you're doing something bad, that you need to get over it. So just take them at face value when they say stuff like that and hear it for what it is. They are not monogamous. And if monogamy is what you want, that's a good thing to know about them and a good reason to not date that person. You don't want the same thing. Now, the 8th thing is giving you platitudes that are designed to smooth over and bury observations that maybe you're being romantically manipulated, saying things that pretend to be profound but are really totally meaningless. I've always hated these things. It's all good, you know. It's not all good. It's all good. It is what it is. Those 2 statements just don't say anything. And when you have an important question like, did you sleep with someone else last night? And you get this, hey, you're too much in your head, you know, get in the moment because it's all good. And anyway, it is what it is. Just don't go into denial. Don't be placated, because what you're hearing means, yes, they did. And the 9th thing that romantic manipulators try to tell you is that they try to re-explain your feelings to you. Like, oh, you're asking if I'm open to marriage, but what you're really feeling is that your dad abandoned you when you were small, and you're just putting this huge expectation on me that you're going to get all your needs met by one person when people were never meant for that. And why can't you just be cool? The cool girl again, or the cool guy, just put up with it. So here's the thing. You know how to spot manipulation. You know how to tell when you're not going to get what you want. And that is cool, all right? Finally, the 10th thing is, if anyone tells you that anything they're doing that hurts you is really healing for you, don't believe it. No one else heals you, and definitely they don't heal you by hurting you. Someone you're kind of dating who is never really honest with you, and now trauma bonding energy has you feeling trapped and scared to leave, that person, by the way, is not a mirror, and they're not a teacher. They're a jerk. You're not in this relationship to learn a lesson from the universe. You're in this relationship because trauma made it hard for you to avoid getting manipulated, and it probably gave you an abandonment wound that makes it hard to leave even when you know you need to do that. But you are in charge of your life. You get to have boundaries that keep out time wasters and energy drainers and anyone who wants to steal what's good and beautiful in you without giving anything back. Now, if you think childhood trauma has affected your dating life, you might want to take my dating quiz, which is on the free tools page that's linked below this video and all my videos. If you love this topic about standing up for what you really want in relationships, I've got this video right over here lined up for you, and I will see you very soon.